At this point, you realize that corn is a vicious cycle and it always repeats the same way. And you won't finally be able to break free from this cycle. In this video, I'll cover how to exactly do that. But before talking about all of that, who am I? My name is Wesley, and my mission is to help prevent 1,000 men from killing themselves because of this addiction. Literally getting to suicidal thoughts because of the addiction of adult videos, adult content. These are my type of videos, and if that interests you, make sure you subscribe. Also, aren't you tired of feeling tired? You wake up in the morning and you were already tired, even though you just slept for maybe 8 to 9 hours. You were tired because yesterday, late at night, you slept at 2 a.m. Maybe even you ate junk food, you ate processed food, and you're never sleeping at the same time. And in addition to all of that, you constantly fap to adult content. This thing creates so much dopamine inside of your brain that it actually makes you unable to have an healthy brain. And that unhealthy brain makes you unable to manage stress effectively, makes you unable to have high confidence, high testosterone, makes you unable to recover effectively during the night. So when you wake up in the morning, you're feeling like you have already no energy, and maybe you even go and fap in the morning. So this explodes, right? You have way too much dopamine and no energy at all. And if you fap in the morning, then you have even less energy. But I want to break this cycle for you. And if you really want to break this cycle, maybe you tried everything, you feel like you tried every strategy that there is. The reason that it's not working is because these strategies were made for everyone. It's a strategy that don't take in consideration what you're going through. Don't take in consideration your own situation right now. It's just general advice, right? And general advice works for the majority of people, but not for everyone. And you are part of the people that it doesn't work for. So what you need is a one-to-one coaching. Someone that will actually be there only for you, actually listen to you, realize what you are going through, what is your situation, how many brothers do you have, right? Things like that can actually impact your recovery. But with overall strategies that works for everyone, you don't get access to these kind of specific personalized advice. So that's why you actually need one-to-one coaching. And I'm offering one-to-one coaching because of that. Because I know that in order for you to quit, you need personalized help. And I'm the help you need. So if you're interested into getting that, or actually just giving a chance to see if it really works, first thing down in the description. With that, I'll continue directly with the video. So before actually breaking the cycle, you have to first understand exactly what is the cycle. So I'll make it as clear as possible. It all starts with your trigger. So your trigger is the first thing that happens. The first time there is a trigger that makes you go and fap. Then after having this trigger, you have the urge that leads to you actually going and fapping. This is the behavior, the action that you took. And after taking this action, you have this feeling of shame, of regret, and this lead to your next trigger. So this is the full cycle. You have the trigger, the behavior, which is you actually going and doing it, and then the feeling of shame and regret that leads to the next trigger. So I'll put it even more specific, right? Trigger, let's say video games. Every time you play video games and you win 5 times in a row, you go and fap. That's like, I don't know. Let's say, right? You play video games, you lose 5 times in a row. Oh, I meant lost, right? So you lose 5 times in a row. What happened? You're having this kind of feeling of, oh damn, I'm so trash. I don't want to play this game anymore. And this leads to urges to maybe go and fap. Maybe that in your video games there is a sexy girl that you can see her butt all the way when you were playing, right? So you lose 5 times in a row. This leads to urges that leads to your relapses. You going and actually fapping. Then when you fap, right after the moment you came, what happened? You have this big shame and regret. Oh damn, I fapped again. I told myself I was going to quit, but I'm not able to, I'm trapped. And you have all these negative thoughts that come in. And these negative thoughts, you don't want to keep having them, right? Like every normal person, you want to get rid of them. So your way to actually get rid of them, instead of trying to stop fapping the good way, you go back to an unhealthy habit, which may be, in this case, playing video games. So what happened? You play video games, lose 5 times in a row, you have the urges that leads to fapping, you do the behavior which is fapping, leads to shame and regret, and to escape that shame and regret, you go back to playing video games. And that video games leads to urges that leads to, so you see kind of the cycle that I'm explaining. This is just a typical example that I took randomly, but you still get the point. This can be applied. So now you kind of know the 4 components of the cycle. I'll just repeat them to be sure, right? Trigger, urges, behavior, which is you going and doing the thing, and the feelings that you get after it, the shame, the regret. Now we can focus on each of these aspects, and actually I'll give you advice on each of these aspects to actually make you able to treat it, right? To get further in your life and actually get free without even having to pay or anything. You're just paying me time right now, right? You're watching the stuff as you give me your attention, and I'm grateful for that. But we'll focus on these 4 aspects. So the first one is your trigger. You have to identify what is exactly your trigger. Because I don't know your situation right now, I can't identify it for you. But common triggers are video games, social media, and your surroundings, right? People that talk around you, maybe even a friend that you have that keeps on showing you corn for no reason. Or they can be emotions, right? Stress, boredom, loneliness. All these emotions can lead to you having the trigger, right? In most cases, what I hear from people, from clients, from other people that I talk about, right? They tell me, for example, that they have stress, and that stress leads to them fapping, because when they fap, they feel like they're relief from that stress. But what happens is that later in that day, the stress comes back. So that's why just dealing with that isn't the good way to do it, right? To deal with stress, you're supposed to, the best ways are meditation and sports, such as exercises, right? These are the best way to deal with it. So now that you identified what is your trigger, how to deal with it, you can develop new habits, right? Developing new habits will counter the trigger. If, for example, instead of going on social media, the moment that you think about going to social media, you go and run outside, you won't go on social media, which won't trigger your urges, right? So you kind of get the point. I don't know, I can figure for you what is your trigger, but if you join the program, right? But right now, I don't know your situation, so I can't tell you what is your exactly trigger. But you can probably guess on your own what is your own trigger. Now, developing a new habit is developing a habit that will counter this typical trigger. So for example, if you keep on having too much stress, well, as I said, go and do sport, go and do meditation. That will relieve a big part of the stress. And this, with less stress, you will have less urges that will kind of impact the cycle, right? If you can successfully destroy one of the 4 components of the cycle, you won't, or at least have way less relapses. And on this path, you will actually go and break free. The next part is the urges. This is the harder part to deal with. But let's say you have the urges, you have to think about the urges as a 5-minute period, right? You have urges for maximum 5 minutes. You don't have the urges for all the day, non-stop, directly, right? You have a 5 minute that your brain will start and try to convince you to go and fap right now. Like, if you don't fap right now, you'll be dead. It's this mission that you have inside of your brain, and he's trying to convince you to actually take the decision to go and fap. Because you have to understand that it's a decision you're making. It's not like, oh, I'm closing my eyes and I'm fapping because, oh my God, I can't control myself. No. You're actually at a point telling yourself, yeah, okay, I'll fap today. And now that the decision has been made, now you already relapsed. Even though you didn't do it, right? You're not even on the bathroom yet, but you already relapsed in your mind because you agreed to do it. Just the way of agreeing is already a relapse. But now you're going and you're finishing the relapse, right? So in order to counteract that, you have to try to find something that will help you manage these 5 minutes of true relapse. So your brain can't try to convince you during this time. But this is the worst way to deal with the cycle. But I said I will explain every part. So I'll explain every part. But that's the worst way to do it, right? If it's the hardest, so that's why it's the worst. It's the hardest to deal with. So you may just focus on the other three. Next, the third is the stress and the shame and regret that you feel right after you came. You can deal with that by actually changing your mindset. Instead of seeing relapses as negative, you see them as positive things. Positive things, why? Because you're only, if I would tell you, you're only 20 relapses from actually making and breaking free. How would you see your relapses? You would see them as great, right? Because you know that you be kind of glad to relapse again. Because you know every time you relapse, it's -1. So at a point, you're just 3 relapses away from making it. And at a point, you're just 1 relapses away from making it. But the point is that you don't really know how many relapses you were away from making it. So might as well just relapse. But don't take these words and actually go and relapse for no reason. You can only do this if every time you relapse, you learn from your mistakes and you make it so that you don't relapse for the same reason another time. So if you apply that, you kind of get lessons after lessons after lessons every time you relapse. And what happens is that over a certain number of relapse, you will have so many lessons that you can't relapse anymore because you learn from your lessons. So you can only, this process of learning from your mistakes and having a certain number of relapses before actually making it is only applicable to you if you actually learn from them, right? You don't learn and still do it, right? You don't figure out that, hey, when I go on my phone for 2 hours, I go and relapse, and the next day you go again on your phone for 2 hours. That's like you not learning. If you decide to still go on your phone for 2 hours, what are you doing different, right? I think there's a quote from Einstein that says, doing something over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of craziness or something like that, right? So don't be crazy. Actually be someone that is intelligent and do the same thing but differently. So do it in a different way or just change it completely. Instead of going 2 hours, you go 1 hour. Now you try. Oh, okay, 1 hour isn't working. I'm still having the relapse. All right, just 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes isn't working. Okay, how can I change it? Instead of 30 minutes, maybe I'll keep the 30 minutes, but I'll change the thing. Instead of going 30 minutes just on Instagram, I'll do 15 Instagram, 15 TikTok. Okay, I find out that Instagram is really what's the problem. Well, how can I remove the content that I'm watching on Instagram? Okay, instead of using Instagram, I'll stop using Instagram. I'll use just YouTube. Oh, okay, YouTube is also making me relapse. Well, maybe I go too much on YouTube. So you can kind of see every time I change something. And at a point, I will find something that actually makes me able to quit and less relapses. And this is just the way you can apply because you're alone in this. You're not asking for help. If you're asking for professional help or someone that actually knows what he's talking about, you can kind of figure out that if you ask me, what is the good strategy that I can apply? After you told me all of your story and all of your life, I can identify what is good for you. So I can kind of limit the relapses that you will have. So instead of having to do maybe 50 relapses before actually breaking free, you would drop down to like 3 or 5 because maybe I won't get it the first time, right? But I have way less relapses to make you before you actually making it. Whereas if you are alone, you don't really have the knowledge, right? And you don't really have the relapses. Me, I kind of have my relapses and the relapses of all of my clients because every situation, maybe your situation right now is like part of 20 different clients that I had. So I kind of know, oh, okay, I remember this one client for this situation, I use this type of advice. Oh, okay, and you, because you're like 20 different clients together, I can kind of give you 20 different advice that I gave for them that will be applicable for you because you were in the same situation. So by actually using these, I can make you have less relapses and make you free faster. And that's the point in you investing in yourself, right? So this was the third, the shame and regret. Seeing it in a positive way will remove this shame and this regret because you're kind of not proud, right? You still relapsed, but it's part of the process. And you see it as part of the process because you need them to learn to actually don't redo them again. And finally, the last part. So finally, there's only 3, right? There was the relapse. While you're doing the relapse, I can't really give any advice. Don't touch it and still fight. But like I can't really give any advice to don't do it, right? In order for you to not do it, you would need to stay with someone together. So for example, you're there with your mom alongside you. Well, you won't say to her, "Oh, sorry, I'll go and relapse real quick." Like this doesn't happen, right? So if you're with someone, you probably won't relapse. But I know that in this situation, you still can try to find a way to go in the bathroom while there's the whole family there and still relapse in like 5 minutes for no reason, right? Because right now you're addicted to a point where you will be able to go into the house of one of your friends and do it there. Like right now, maybe you watching this video right now, you're telling yourself, "Oh no, that's impossible for me." But there's people right now watching this video that knows that they would be able to do it or have already done it. And right now, they're realizing like, damn, I'm so like deep into this addiction. Like imagine yourself, you're maybe right now skipping events to go do it. You're skipping moments that you could have been with your family to do it. You're doing it at work. Like, yes, I heard that. So I'm not like just crazy randomly telling stuff, right? I'm all telling things that I heard from people. And I'm not going to tell who, right? So that would be really fucked up. But you can still get the point. There's people, like you think, "Oh, this would never be me." But it could be you in like 2 years. Just because you keep on getting addicted. And these can all lead to law enforcement, right? Things that could lead to prison and things like that. You don't want to risk your life over a simple, well, it's not really simple, but you get what I mean, right? An addiction. You don't want the addiction to lead you to jail and actually destroy your life. So might as well just treat it before it actually makes all of that. On that, I'll actually ask you to take care of yourself.